Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Hello, hello. We are here again to discuss the Nicola Bulley case and the latest events, things that have been going on. So the so-called expert has now quit. He dramatically left the scene, apparently, according to news media. He's apparently come and done what he set out to do, and he's effed off home. So we're going to get into that, and I'm happy to answer as many questions as you like, and all opinions are welcome in the chat. However, if you have an opinion that is, shall we say, not based in any form of logic, then yeah, I'm going to laugh at you. All right. So, you know, if you're a snowflake, this probably isn't the best chat for you. Just warning you ahead of time so that people don't bleat at me saying, "Oh, you be mean, you be mean." Yeah, well, okay. All right. Let's see how we are in the chat. We'll say a few hellos. I've got some things to show you. Yeah, and we'll see how we go. I don't think I'm going to be as long for warning snowflakes. Yeah. Let's have some snowflakes in the chat for all those with delicate sensibilities. Okay. All right. Aussie TV. Hello. Holly. D. See my part footage without being credited. Oh, they always do that. Generally, Jenny, hello. Not the only one turned off by the expert guy. No, you're not. Now he's quit. I'll tell you what I think about him. Jeff, the expert who was searching the river, has now left the scene. Search complete. He said she's not in the river. Did he say that, Jeff? Did he actually say that, Jeff? Did he say she's not in the river? Given that he only searched a tiny proportion of that river, and given that he spent the entirety of yesterday searching in the wrong place. So I'll let you think about that one, Jeff, and get back to me. Debbie says, I don't think she's in the river. Well, we can beg to differ. All opinions are welcome. Jeff, again, sorry, but the cop investigating is so blinkered. What? So there's only one cop investigating. There's only one cop on the case, really? So what about all of the different search and rescue teams that have come to help? What about the His Majesty's Coast Guards? What about, you know, the water experts that the police have brought in, like the real experts that the police have brought in? You know, the academics who are schooling them on currents and tides and where a body is likely to wash up. Yeah, they're all blinkered, but yeah, Jeff, sit down. It's getting crowded in here. Sit down, Jeff. Calm down. Arwen Flo, she may have staged it and run off. Okay. Yeah, I'm guessing that's it. You've solved the case. You've solved the case. There we go. Solve the case. Okay. Malquid, they are now going upstream to search. I don't see how that makes any sense at all unless she left her phone and dog and went for a hike. Yeah, they searched upstream yesterday in the little bit where I was paddling the other day. There was a little cute photo opportunity, you know, a bit of drone footage, a little photo opportunity of Peter in his dinghy with his sonar equipment. Yeah, the very place, the very stretch of river where I paddled. You can see the bottom. You don't need sonar to see the bottom in that location, but he spent the entire day. Now, it is beautiful, I have to say. So if you wanted to go for a little boating expedition, that's a nice place to go. but you don't need 53 grand's worth of sonar equipment to go on a little boating expedition in that part of the river. But yeah, only grands. Hello, hello. Miles upstream. Yeah, Peter actually only went as far as the bridge. I think that's what he said. But if they went much further upstream, they'd probably get stuck. Max, I can't knock him for trying, although a bit late in the search. He has not much humility for the job. He does, and for me, came over a bit lacking in river and tide awareness. Very lacking in basic physics, biology, and he's been cruel. I'm going to say he's been cruel. He's been cruel to the family and everybody. He's been cruel. But hopefully now the three-wing circus has left town, then the actual experts can get on with doing what they do. Who else have we got in here? Linda. Oh, it must be, I don't even know what time it is for you. Must be like in the middle of the night. Lena saw my video. Oh, good. I've got a credit. That's good. Delane from North Carolina. Holly, I said hello to you. Norman Bell. No, Norman Bell. Sorry, I can't even read. Bullets for dinner. Who is this main expert? The actual experts are the people who are advising the police. The person who's been all over the news might know how to operate sonar, and I'm sure he's very good at what he does. But he's been very lacking in understanding of this case, which is interesting. We'll get into that. She's definitely not in the river, says David. She's definitely not in the river. All of it. All of it. How well do you know the River Wyre, or indeed any of the rivers around the northwest coast of England, because they are very silted, full of sandbanks. It's, I don't know, it's to do with the geography. And yeah, so I'd like, again, you can go and sit with Jeff, go and confer with Jeff, who also thinks she's not in the river. So I want you to discuss why you think she's not in the entirety of the river. Bear in mind, it's 15 kilometres from St. Michael's to the sea. So the whole of that 15 kilometres. Okay, so yeah. Hi from Belgium. Hi. Rhonda. Rona, sorry. I told you I can't read today. Taffy, fly on the wall. Park life. Is someone she knows from being a mortgage advisor. Watched her for a while. Apparently the keys were still in a car. I don't know if the keys were in a car. I know her car was where she parked it. I don't know about the keys. Flower of Scotland. Sandy, Jedi. Claire. All right, I'm gonna go down to the bottom. So if you've asked a question or you've oh yeah. We'll start there, shall we? Yeah, let's show you the little clip that I put on at the beginning. That's some really nice drone footage that I found on the mirror, and that's just the general area. That's the area where Peter searched. But we'll look on the map. Could she be trapped under the weir? I don't know. I would imagine that they've checked that, but I don't know. All right, let's start with this one. Let's start with the map. Okay. So this is the bench area right here. This is the house, you know, the haunted house that everybody thinks she's trapped in an underground bunker there or something. Now, when I was there on Monday afternoon, the search team, they'd got their lorries and stuff parked here, and the police. So it belongs to this farm that people think is some kind of dodgy, I don't know what they think it is, but they were all parked here. And I overheard some discussions that were going on. One of the colleagues of Peter, I assume it was, and he said that they believed she'd gone over the weir. I heard this with my own ears. My own ears. So they believed on Monday that she'd gone over the weir. Where's the weir? The weir's here. That's the weir. Bench is here. So it's a few hundred yards round the corner, right to the weir. So if she fell in there, she'd go around there. And then from the weir, then the river is subject to the tidal forces of the Irish Sea. So that's where they started. The team, SGI, started there. And I heard varying reports of how far they actually searched. Because they spent Monday morning doing a walk around of the scene, which I understand, you know, get the lie of the land. I understand that. Now, I heard 3 to 4 miles. I heard 2 miles. I don't know how far they actually searched. But Monday came up with nothing. And when Peter did interviews, he said that his sonar wasn't useful in certain places because of the banks, the bankings, and they would need divers for that. So he decided that on Tuesday, instead of going further out and further downstream, that if he believed she'd passed the weir, then she'd have been subject to tidal forces. And he equated it, however, he said there's no way that he actually used the words, it's impossible that she's gone out to sea, because if she'd gone over the weir, because the river's tidal, when the tide comes back in, it would wash her body back inland. And he equated it to throwing a ball into the river. That if you threw a ball in, then when the tide goes out, the ball goes towards the sea. But then when the tide turns and it comes back in, the ball comes back. However, what's the difference between a drowned human and a ball? Let's say a football. What's different? Answers in chat. No, we don't have alligators, no. Yes, the dog was dry. Why do you attack people who don't believe what you believe? I didn't say that I was going to attack people. What I said was, if you have an opinion that's wild or is not based in logic, then I'm going to laugh at you. I'm not an expert. All right. Yeah, well, I have an understanding of physics and I also have an understanding of biology. So I'm not an expert in sonar, but I do understand physics and I do understand biology. It's not to do with absolute weight. It's to do with density. Exactly, Bug Love. The ball is full of air. and it will float. Next question. What's the difference between a human body that's alive and a human body that's dead? What's the difference? Don't say one's alive and one's dead. In terms of how they behave in water. So, floating, says Max, blood circulation. So if I take a flat football with no air, that should sing. I doubt it's going to sing, no. It doesn't have vocal cords, it's not going to sing. One sinks. Yeah, okay, you've got this. So the reason why humans float in water, or at least your top half does, right? So you can float just by lying back and just gently every now and again kicking your legs, because your legs will sink, right? Your legs will sink, but your top half is buoyant because your lungs are full of air. So as you breathe in, right, air is obviously less dense than water, so your body will float. So a living person who is perhaps unconscious, let's say, who maybe falls in backwards, they're still breathing. So what is that body going to do, at least for a short time? So unconscious, alive, and still breathing. Yes, I believe she's in the river, Kathy. Unless any evidence comes to light that is overwhelmingly strong, then I am going to continue to believe she's in the river. Nothing tells me otherwise. Nothing at all tells me otherwise. So so an unconscious person who falls into a river is going to float, at least for a short space of time, because they're still alive, there's still air in the lungs, they're still breathing. Have they checked where the wire is emptying into the Irish Sea? That is what they are doing. Yes, that is what they are doing. There has been search teams out there. The Coast Guard's been out there, but that's where they're focusing. But Peter, the expert, says that there's no way she could have got out to sea because he doesn't understand basic physics. So let me just carry on with this line of questioning. So if someone is dead and they are either thrown in a river or they drown in the river, what happens to them once they are no longer breathing? What happens to them? Nowhere in a dead body. So what happens to them? Oh, SNS. Get some, can we have some snowflakes in the chat, please, for SNS Detective Agency? Apparently I'm mean and nasty and crazy. Snowflakes in the chat, please. They sink. They sink. Absolutely, they sink. Once they're dead, they sink. We need some more snowflakes. Come on, this is just a light shower. We need some snowflakes in the chat. Thank you. Getting some snowflakes out now. Right, now, after a few days, depends on the... Thank you for all the snowflakes. Bye-bye, SNS. I'll help you out, actually. I'll help you out because I'm mean and nasty and horrible. Let's help you out. Why is it not letting me block you? Well, that's no good. That's not fair. Bug love's got him. That's why. Oh, why are my snowflakes not showing up? I'm having to. Do you know what? YouTube has got really arsey about emojis. I have to approve. Like, I have to approve messages. All right, we're going to get serious now. We're going to get serious. Now SNS has gone. We're going to get serious. What does the snowflakes mean? People who've got delicate sensitivities, you know, they're as gentle and vulnerable as a snowflake, and they just melt. They melt when there's any heat whatsoever. You know, they get very fractious. They get hot and bothered, and they're very easily offended. I'm having to approve all these snowflakes, you know. Dear. All right, we're going to get serious. This is a very serious topic. Right. So a drowned person sinks. So when Peter said that drowned bodies sink and you just find them in the place where they drowned, well, he's right, but also he's wrong. And I'll tell you for why in a minute. I think he's wrong in this case. Now, once the body starts to decompose, and it can take a few days, depends on the water temperature. It's really cold, it takes longer. Then the gaseous buildup makes the body then less dense than the water, and it will float. That's why drowning victims who were not found immediately often get found in a few days' time, because they pop up somewhere, right? You know, they might float, they float downstream, they float away, they float all over the place, and or they wash up, right? And then when decomposition has completed, then whatever's remaining sinks again. So that's the cycle of drowning. Now, okay, I'll come back to that in a minute. So on Monday, that's what Peter did, but then decided that he was going to change his strategy. He didn't like doing that. So on Tuesday, he decided to go back to his theory that he'd been talking about on the news, that the phone could have been left on the bench as a decoy, and the harness and the dog lead could have been left on the bench as a decoy. What Peter has never mentioned is, was Willow left at the bench as a decoy? And if she was, why did she stay put? Because the lead was off her. She could have run away at any time. But he's never mentioned that, so I'm assuming that he doesn't want to address that. Okay, so yesterday he spent his time having a nice leisurely ride around. So I think he went from here, so he did this stretch. Now this stretch is really nice and gentle. Really nice and gentle. I paddled in there. That's where I went to paddle. On my footage, that's where I was. Right, you can see the bottom. You can see the bottom, very shallow. It only starts getting deeper when this other water source, the River Brock, joins it. And it gets deeper and the current picks up. So this is very gentle. So it started to pick up a current because it's got now the benefit of two water sources in it. Right. And then, of course, once it gets to the weir, then it's tidal. And you saw the footage. I went right down to the weir and showed you the current at the weir. And the current of this stretch coming up to the weir, I also filmed. because the weir is pulling the water. Obviously, it's pulling the water. Right? So Peter has searched this very shallow area where there's no way she could have been. Why could she not have been there? Now, his rationale was that if the phone was left as a decoy, then she might have been thrown in or fallen in further upstream. But in the place where he was searching, it was very shallow. So why would you need sonar? Why wouldn't you just walk along the river and look in? Because the water was quite clear. Anyway, I trust him. He's the expert. So when people are quoting him and saying she is not in the river, Peter has searched this portion, which she never was going to be in anyway. He searched this portion that has been searched extensively by the police, which he's admitted, but he thought that, you know, he had better equipment than the police. But there's been divers in, they've been in every day, multiple times, and no, she's not there. So let's give Peter the benefit of the doubt, and let's say that he went all the way up to here. Let's say, we is here, let's say he went all the way to there on Monday. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Right, now, if you're going to say she's not in the river, well, the river carries on, and 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 carries on, and keeps carrying on, and carrying on, and carrying on to the sea. So when people come into my chat and say she's not in the river because Peter says so, Peter's only searched a very small portion of it. All right. Now, but for all of you Peter fans, I'm assuming that you're going to buy his new book. Are you going to buy his new book? If you admit it, you can admit it. It's fine. If you want to, it's fine. All opinions welcome. Put a 1 in the chat if you think Peter has done a good job. Put a 2 in the chat if you think Peter should have minded his own business and not got involved. So 1 in the chat if you think Peter's done a good job. 2 in the chat if you think he's done a bad job. Got mainly 2s. Probably all the people who would have been 1 have effed off anyway now. Max, you've put Z's in the chat or something. Oh, no, you've put 2s. I was going to say. All right, lots of 2s. Not going to get Peter very many book sales, but I'll publicise his book anyway, you know, because I'm talking about him. So Peter's written a book. It's very coincidental, and a cynic might believe that Peter has made himself a national figure. You know, I saw people saying he was a national treasure on Twitter. And I hope they all go and buy his book. Because a cynic would say, maybe Peter has garnered all of this national attention, been on every news channel, contradicting what the police say, saying that the police should have let him in on the investigation. You know, just the things that media really laps up. Because then people will Google his name and they'll see that he's got a new book out. A cynic would think that. Welcome, Fairy, to the Secret Agents Club. Welcome, welcome. But I'm not a cynic. So I don't believe at all, that Peter has, you know, gone out of his way to assist in this search by searching a little way past the weir, then saying that it's impossible for her to go up to the sea, even though it's tidal there, equating a human body to a ball, and then saying that, well, he's better look upstream because the phone might have been there as a decoy, and it gives them an extra day, it gives them some really good publicity shots. Now, I'm not a cynic, so I don't believe that he did any of that simply to get national attention because he's got a new book out. It's called What Lies Beneath: My Life as a Forensic Search and Rescue Expert. It's $13.99. Now, this is obviously in British currency, so whatever it is in yours. $13.99 for the hardcover. You can get it for $0 if you have audiobooks, Audible, is it called, or $9.99 for the Kindle edition. Now, I don't know about you, but I like a real book. I don't know about you. I like a real book. I don't like Kindle. I tried Kindle, don't like it. I'd rather pay the extra £3, £4 for an actual book. So, yeah. And it came out, it's just an absolute coincidence that it came out on the 2nd of February. Absolute, complete and total coincidence. Nothing more. Nothing more. So let's see what it says. Has it got a blurb? Oh, here we go. All right. So Peter Folding is a world-leading confined space rescue and forensic search specialist. He pioneered the use of side-scan sonar in forensic searches for missing persons underwater in the UK and is a world leader in underwater search techniques. He might well be, but he probably just needs to upgrade his knowledge about tides and tidal forces. He has assisted in the search in many court cases and has located human remains and evidence that has gone undetected for years in some of the most remote locations on land and underwater. He is a qualified commercial diver, helicopter and fixed wing pilot, holds both the UK and United States FAA pilot's license. What Lies Beneath is his first book. So it's his first book. So yeah, I'd like to publicize that book. So if you thought Peter did a good job, then yeah, worth a punt, don't you think? However, the cynics amongst us might say, and that's not me, I'm not a cynic, might say it's quite cruel to join a search for a couple of days, search an area upstream where she categorically could not have been, and just search a small portion of the river, and then let the media lead people to believe that she's not in the river. It gives the family false hope. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, it gives the family false hope. It makes the police job harder because, in my opinion, people are now going to go down the abduction line and they're going to be looking for her everywhere else except in the river. So I'm very thankful of the extremely dedicated men and women who are putting very, very long hours in to the actual search. And where they are actually searching now is towards the estuary. Now, they have been there before. What am I doing here? Don't want to stop sharing. View this tab. What is it doing? Oh, there we go. It's doing it. I've forgotten what I was saying. I've really forgotten what I was saying. Oh, yeah. So they have searched the estuary before, or they've been out there before. Their helicopters have been over. The Coast Guards, obviously, looking around Morecambe Bay. At the police press briefing yesterday, they said that they would like people to focus on this area, which is at the estuary and the River Wyre estuaries into Morecambe Bay, which is very dangerous bay. So if you do go searching in Morecambe Bay, please, 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 I can't stress enough, be very, very mindful that when the tide's out, it turns very quickly and it comes inland very quickly. It comes in faster than man can run because it's so flat. Right, so yeah, just be very, very careful. You know, don't try and walk out right into the bay. Even if the tide looks way, way out, it's incredibly deceptive. Please be careful, right? Stick around the coastal kind of, you know, coastal bit. If a body's going to wash up with the tide, it'll wash up with the tide. You know, don't put yourself at risk. But what Superintendent Sally Riley said was that they would like people to focus on the area of the bay between Knot End, which is here, and it must be because they've got experts, you know, experts of the currents of in British waters and in Morecambe Bay specifically. You know, there are academics who specialise in this stuff, publish research on this stuff, have studied this stuff for years, know how the currents work. So between Knot End and Morecambe, which is here. So that's the stretch that they're particularly interested in. So if you're in that area, if you can spare a day, half a day down at the beach, just go and have a walk around. Don't put yourself at risk. Obviously, if you live in that area, you're probably aware of the risks in Morecambe Bay. But I would say if you live anywhere around the bay, because tides can do unusual things. I'm no expert in them at all, but I guess tides can do unusual things. You know, if I lived in maybe Ulverston or Dalton or Floxborough or Grange over Sands or Silverdale, I'd probably spend a few days walking the beaches, just in case. You never know. But the police specifically mentioned Knot End to Morecambe. Yeah, the cynics among us would say that it was a free publicity tour. Meanwhile, the real experts are out there working very, very hard. Now, there are certain areas where bodies, because it's a very silty, sandy river, you know, the sandbanks. If you look, you only need to look on Google on Shard Bridge, which isn't quite up to the estuary, but you can see just on Google, you can see the sandbanks. I mean, the river's wide, but it remains shallow, very shallow, because it's so built up with sand and silt. Many of our rivers are like this, silty and sandy. You know, the River Dee that separates England from Wales is very, very silty, completely silty, really for miles inland. The River Ribble actually is nowhere near as bad. The River Mersey is silty, but nowhere near like this. But this isn't up to the estuary. And when the river's obviously really high, it's going to cover these sandbanks. But you can see that this is really dangerous for, you know, bodies, because bodies can get trapped. They can get trapped in sand. So it means that you know, a body might not necessarily float all the way out to sea. But of course, Peter doesn't think that a body is going to get to the sea anywhere because he, I don't know, doesn't seem to understand how rivers work. But that's just my opinion, obviously. He's the expert, not me, as people keep telling me. There was some activity here at Shippool a few days ago now. I think this is a place where if a body was going to wash up, it might wash up because of this, just the shape of the river. And this big sandbank thing here. I had a look actually last night to how many people had died in recent years in the River Wyre, and where they washed up, and there was a little two-year-old boy who drowned in the River Wyre. Admittedly closer to the sea than St. Michael's, but still he travelled several miles because it's tidal. But he didn't go out to sea. He got stuck at Shard Bridge. They found his body at Shard Bridge. So if it wasn't for these big sandbanks and, you know, the river being really shallow in places because of this big build-up of sand and silt, then his body, I'm afraid, would have most probably washed out to sea. But yeah, it's impossible for bodies to wash out to sea, according to the experts. But, you know, and then, I don't know, bodies do actually wash out to sea. But in this river, because of its particular characteristics, there are certain kind of points, focal points, where a body might be more likely to get stuck. But yeah, okay. So that's that. That's that, right? We've publicised Peter's book for him. Let's just, before we finish with Peter, let's just see what he said in the news today. Is there a river around 9 miles to the sea from St. Michael's on Wyre? I read that it was 13 miles. That's what I read. But then Sally Riley from the police said it was 15 kilometres. So whatever that is in miles, that's what she said. I can't work in kilometres. Even though we did kilometres at school, and I still can't. I still have to convert to miles. I can't work in new currency. I can't work in meters and centimeters. I have to work in feet, yards, and inches. So can somebody look up what 15 kilometers is in miles? Because we might as well use the police measurements rather than something random that I found online. "10 kilometers is 6 miles. So 15 kilometers is going to be like 9 miles. All right. So 9 miles, yeah. Whoever said 9 miles was right. Okay. So a lot less than the 13 miles that I thought it was. 9.3 miles. Thank you, Emily. 9.3. Lots of 9.3s. Okay, so that's how far it is, roughly, approximately. Could a body, without obstruction, without sandbanks, once over the weir, subject to tidal forces, have got out to sea from St. Michael's in 12 days? Absolutely, 100% yes. Even with a slow current, right? Even with a slow current, 12 days could have got out to sea. However, it's my opinion, given the nature of the river, that she's stuck somewhere. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, we're getting very specific now, Tammy. 9.321 miles. Hello, Robert. Hello, Furry. Oh, I thought you were saying hello because you quoted me. You know, atted me, whatever it's called. And I don't know how much like this the bottom of the river, because in Morecambe Bay, like there's just areas that are just quicksand. So I don't know how much of the river bottom is like that as well. I've no idea. And I don't plan to find out. But before we move on from Peter and look at the more general news in the case, Peter had a chat with Paul, her partner, today, took him down to the river and showed him where he searched. And there's one photo, I don't think this is the Mail Online, but there was a photo where they were I think it might have been that one. I was like having kittens how close Paul was standing to the edge, because that's the bit that it kind of slopes down and there's these like little steps that are completely pointless as steps, but were obviously put into the banking at some point by somebody. And imagine if that was what they do. Imagine if what Paul and Nikki used to do is go and stand by the riverbank, because Paul is standing at the riverbank, what, 2 steps and you would fall over? Look. What if his foot slipped there? What if his foot slipped and he couldn't right himself before he fell? You know, is this something that Paul and Nikki like to do? Just go and stand by the river, contemplate life? Some people do. Some people go and sit on a riverbank, which is probably safer than standing there. But some people like to go to the edge of cliffs and look over and contemplate the world. And yeah, I thought, well, look, he's precariously close to that edge. I stood, where was I stood? Is there a better photo? I'm not sure there is on this article. It was another one, but anyway, I was stood. So that's the style. I was stood about there at the end of this fence, at that side, about there. But there stood, right near where those steps are. If your foot slipped and you couldn't right yourself, you would be in that water from there. And it just made me think. It just made me think, is that something that they did? Is stand at the side of the river just contemplating life? You could never do cliff walking. I'm not scared of heights, but I respect the power of nature. So I'd keep a respectful distance away from the edge of any cliff, even a 10-foot bank, I'd keep a respectful distance of. Hi, Kyle, says fly on the wall. Yeah, he's just come out of his bedroom. I think he's gone getting his tea. Yeah, it's the bit that like slopes down to them steps, I think there. I think it is. I was stood like there, I think, around there. I think, about there, near that fence. Anyway, just want to read you this paragraph here. So Paul has been told, like by Peter, that she's not in the river where he searched. Now, he has caveated it. Peter actually has caveated what he said. It's the media that are misquoting him and people not listening. So I'm going to give Peter some credit here, right? And I'm going to say Peter has not said she is not in the river. He has said she is not in the areas of the river where he has searched. And I believe him. I do believe him. And I'll tell you for why in a minute. Well, because I believe him when he says he's a sonar expert. And I believe him that his equipment in a shallow river like that would have seen a body at the bottom of that river. So Paul and Mr. Fielding were this morning joined by a senior detective and a friend of Nicola who listened attentively. The senior detective listened attentively as Mr. Fielding explained how the water where the police believe she drowned was particularly shallow. It comes as a video obtained by Mail Online shows Mr. Fielding's sonar device scanning either side of the riverbank near St. Michael's on Wire, where Nicola is feared to have fallen in. The only sound that can be heard is the short clip of the outboard motor. Blah, 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 blah. He was convinced that if he was to find body, it would have been in the area close to where police say Nicola fell into the water. This is where he gives us a vital clue. So thank you, Peter. Peter has given us a vital clue. Because one of the things, after visiting on Monday, one of the things that I couldn't see, because I was too much of a scaredy cat to go right to the edge and look over, I couldn't see what the surface of the bottom of the riverbed was like. And Peter tells me. The expert took Mail Online to the scene and pointed out that the water was fairly shallow, no deeper than 3 foot, and covered with jagged rocks. The bottom of the river at the place where Nicola is likely to have fallen in, i.e. near the bench, is covered with jagged rocks. He said, if this is where Nicola fell in, you can see that the water is not particularly deep. There are lots of rocks, and if she was in the water, she would be able to grab hold of them. No one heard any shouts for help, and I just can't see how she could drown here. The only possibility is that she fell head first and was knocked out on the rocks, but I don't see how that could happen. Don't see how that could happen. So if you fall and bang your head on rocks, he doesn't see how she could have knocked herself out. Now, if you were in my chat yesterday, or you've seen my videos over the last couple of days since I did the visit, can you remember how high I just did a quick guesstimate based on, photos of searchers and just looking at their body size in relation to the bank? Do I have one? I'll have to get my video up. Hold on a minute. Please hold. All right, let me just find that picture. That's the weir. Oh, come on, it's a good picture. Why is my internet being really slow? Am I lagging? I've probably got too many windows open. Cassie wasn't going to take the leap of faith and jump in. Here we go. All right. So that's about Peter and Paul were stood like here. These are them little steps that I don't know why they're there, but they're not very useful. But Peter and Paul were stood there. Or maybe there. Anyway, around that area anyway. So that banking's steep, agree? 10 to 12 feet. That's what I said, Jeffrey. I reckon 10 feet where they are. And maybe like, I mean, from the bottom of the river. So it might be a little bit more. Because if Peter's saying it's 3 feet, then you've got 3 feet to the bottom before you even look at the bank. But then let's say it's 10 feet. Let's say it's 10. Let's use a conservative estimate and say, right, so here's my new theory. It's just an extension. And Peter's helped me out with this because he's told me that there's rocks on the bottom. So he's not found anything at that location except for jagged rocks. That's all he's found. Right? It's very shallow, 3 foot deep, with jagged rocks. So my new theory is this. What if, right, Nicola fell in, why she fell in, I don't know. Whether she just literally tripped. She likes to stand at the edge, contemplating life. She literally tripped. Whether Willow knocked her in, we don't know. But for whatever reason, she fell in. What if she doesn't have to, it doesn't matter how she fell in, whether she fell in head first or whether she fell in, you know, face first, or whether she fell in, it doesn't matter how you fall in. If you hit your head on jagged rocks, you're gonna injure your head. Agree? Agree? Falling 10 feet, like 3 feet of water, is not going to protect you. It's just going to displace the water. The water's just gonna like give way, and you're going to fall onto the rocks. Now, I'm going to also give Peter another bit of credit here. That if she'd have died in that spot, if she'd have drowned in that spot in 3 feet of water, the chances are, unless the current was very strong, she would have still been in that area when the police got there and the first underwater search started, which was Monday afternoon or Friday afternoon. She went missing on Friday the 27th. But here's the thing. What if Nicola fell backwards, banged her head, and was knocked out? So if we rewind back to what I said at the beginning, what does a body do when it's alive and breathing? Does it float or does it sink? It floats. So while she was still alive, she would have been able to float, whether she was unconscious or not. Now, this is where there's another issue. She would have been weighted down by her boots, right? So if she'd have been knocked out, come round, and then not known where on earth she was, concussed, she could have probably been able to try to right herself. But the more you struggle, the more of a problem you have. But I think she was knocked out. I honestly do think she was knocked out. Now, the next problem is the time span. Lisa, the expert diver man. We've talked about the expert diver man. Lisa, are you going to buy his new book? The expert diver man's got a new book out, $13.99. Just $13.99 of your hard-earned money. You can buy the expert diver man's new book. Do you know it came out on the 2nd of February? So the expert diver man that no one heard of before, what, 3 or 4 days ago. Anyway, moving on. So the reason why they're not looking upstream is because rivers don't flow in reverse. However, let's carry on. Now, the timing's a problem because there was a delay. There was a delay in calling 999. Now, the original reports that came out were that 999 was called at 10:15. But this seems to be conflictual now. Now, I don't know where this has come from. I think this is Nikki's friend that's putting this out, but I can't be absolutely sure. But okay, so we know that Willow was found at 9:33 by a woman unknown to Nikki. Really that early? I don't know what you mean. You got his 15 minutes of fame. Yeah. No, the person that found her tied her up, Mev. When it's tidal, it does reverse. Yeah, but upstream, as people keep saying, upstream of the weir, it's not tidal, as people keep saying. People can walk upstream. Yeah, but Willow didn't walk upstream, though, did she? Willow stayed at the bench. Tilly-Ann's boyfriend is Paul's friend. All right. So 9:33, it was a dog walker who found the mobile phone on the bench, the harness with the lead attached between the bench and the river, and Willow agitated between the bench and the stile. So I suspect Willow was just very, very pleased to see someone who could help. But this dog walker obviously doesn't understand dogs and just thought an agitated dog on her own with a phone and a lead and a collar or a harness there on their own. Let's just tie the dog up and F off. That's what that person thought. Now, obviously, we're all wise in the benefit of hindsight. And, you know, we're all really clever in hindsight. But I just find it totally, totally tragic that Willow at 9:33 was agitated. She's not been abducted. Boo. She's not been abducted. It's only the internet that believes she's been abducted. the police do not believe she has been abducted. So if you found, right, let's just say, if you found an agitated dog and someone's phone and no sign of the human, what would you do? Is there a public loo around? No. Well, there's bushes, but no. There's always a chance that she just walked away. Yeah, but why didn't Willow go with her? I dial 999, so would I. So would I. I'd have a look around. The first place I would have gone is the river. I'd have spoken to the dog, reassured her, and I'd have gone over to the river to see if anybody was injured. And I bet you any money that Nicola was still there at 9:33 on those rocks, 10 foot down. The dog walker would not have been able to see her from the bench. You cannot see the river, the entirety of the river from the bench, because it's 10 foot down. It's not like you're looking out on a flat expanse where there's literally no river, but the riverbank's flat. It's 10 foot down. So that dog walker must feel utterly, utterly dreadful. Must do feel utterly dreadful. And we all are wise in the benefit of hindsight. But I can tell you now, I would have rung 999. I'd have rung 999 and said, look, it's probably nothing. However, I've just found, it's a very quiet place. I've just found a dog on her own, loose, and someone's mobile phone. And I'm just a bit concerned. And I'm ringing up, can we, can you just send an officer to have a look around? Or, and they might have said, have you looked around? Have you looked around? Where is it? And the 999 operator might have directed her to go and look at the river. Emily, hey! Emily has gifted a membership. Thank you, Emily. And it's Fifi who's got the membership. Fifi Phalange has got the membership. Thank you so much, Emily. Welcome to Memberships, Fifi. So the dog walker tied up Willow with string, random piece of string, left the phone on the bench and returned home. Have they checked JLC groundworks? I've no idea what that is. How long delay before searching and what flow speed the river at the time? I don't know the flow speed at the time, but we're getting to the point where the search began. So this dog walker had an appointment. So she went home and trusted another family member to deal with it. So the family member, I don't know what the family member was doing, but it took them till 10:50 to go to the bench. So we're now an hour and 20 minutes after, well, an hour and a half, right? There's a 10-minute window between 9:20 and 9:30, where whatever happened, happened. Because it was before 9:30, or else Nicola would have logged off her work call, which ended at 9:30. I don't know why string, though the leash was new. I don't know. I don't know why you'd use string. I've no idea. No idea. You'd have to ask this person why she just couldn't put the lead back on the dog. I've no idea. Anyway, maybe it was longer. She thought it, like, maybe she couldn't work out how to tie the lead to the bench, and so she used string. I don't know. The spot at the beach bench is not tidal. If I heard right. Yeah. Right. Rivers that are not tidal still have a current. It's simply that they're not benefiting from tidal forces, but they still have a current, or else it'd just be a still piece of water. It still flows, or else the oceans would be empty. All the water would be in the rivers. There's still a flow, and there's a steady current. It's slow, but it's steady at the bench. I've been there. I've been there. What do you mean, Pink Volo? Didn't want to leave fingerprints. What do you mean, didn't want to leave fingerprints? I don't know. They probably just thought string's going to be easier. I don't know. I don't think there's anything suspicious. I just think people are making up stuff. Current is near bed of river. There are undercurrents, but it is shallow. Yes, the undercurrents are dangerous. The St. Michael's Angling Association, who fishes that river, says that the undercurrents in that river are dangerous. How high are the tides? 6 feet? Don't know. It will depend. Knew it was suspicious, perhaps. I don't know. I just think they were rushing for an appointment, and they didn't look around, and they probably regret it now. All right, so then it takes the family member till 10:50 to go to the bench, recognised whose phone it was, and recognised Willow, called the school. Presumably they didn't have Paul's contact number and maybe couldn't get into the phone. So called the school. The school called Paul, who immediately called the police. So Paul, so this is 10:50 now, right? And drove straight to where Nikki was last seen and where Willow was. So this person, this Tillington, is saying, were there any other witnesses that saw the dog, Willow, tied up between 9:33 and 10:50? Because that's a huge chunk of tiny, I assume that means time, not accounted for. Well, I would say, now the first search and rescue was deployed at noon. And they got in the water Monday afternoon. Now, by that time, do you think, I think it's possible. Where's St. Michael's gone? Oh, I have to search for it again. There we go. Now, bear in mind, this is only, I'd say, a few hundred yards, right? I mean, that's like a 2-minute walk, but obviously the river goes like round a bend. So to go from there to the weir, so to get around there well, by the time the cops got there, because presumably the cops went to the river, like went and looked over to see if they could see anything. Presumably, I don't know. But by Monday afternoon, I believe, based on the current being slow but steady, could have got a body around there. They did start the search at the bottom of the river. They started both on ground and on the water. They started a ground search and they started a river search Monday afternoon. Not sharing map, sorry. Okay, so bench, weir. That's literally a 2-minute walk, but obviously the river goes round a bend, so it's a bit longer. I could probably walk that in 5 minutes, I would think. 7 minutes, I don't know. But in just an hour and a half, if Nikki had fallen in at 9:20, like literally got to the bench, put her phone down, gone to the edge of the bank because she likes to look out, or she was picking up a dog poop, or she was playing with Willow and she slipped and she fell and hit her head on the jagged rocks that Peter's sonar has found. Still alive, but knocked out. So her body is buoyant, at least for a time, because she's still breathing. There's air in her lungs. So in an hour and a half, is it possible for her? So 10:50, Paul gets rung. Paul turns up. So that's going to take, what, another 10 minutes? I don't know. He lives 10 minutes away. So let's say 11 o'clock, right? Paul gets there and looks at the river. Is it possible for Nikki, bearing in mind that she would have been alive at the time and buoyant and would have been carried by the slow but consistent current, to have got round this corner? I think so. That is a very short distance. Very short distance. Because once she's round that corner, Paul's going to look over, waiting for the cops to arrive. He's going to look over and not see anything. And then by the afternoon, when the river search starts, they spent their first, day searching this area. This, round here. Is it possible by Monday afternoon she got from here, to the weir, where the current is strong and it is tidal? Yes, absolutely. At what point she drowned? Did she drown? Did she drown once her clothes weighted her down? Possibly. But if she got to the weir by that time, the tide would have taken her. At the bend, you can't see around the bend. You can't see because the banks are so high. So, yes, you can see the bend of the river, but you can't see the river because of the banks are so high. You're standing, even if you're standing right at the edge, you can't see the river here because of the banks. So is it possible that literally they missed her because of that delay in calling Paul and calling 999? Was that the crucial time when she could have been found here? When did Peter get up on the river? Yes, Monday. Oh, where did Peter get up to? Oh, he searched a little piddly bit. He searched the bit that I was paddling in on Monday in my footage, and he searched the area that has been gone over with a fine-tooth comb by the police, and then he searched a little bit past the weir. Yes, drones have been used. You bet she isn't in the river. Where is she then? So that's my theory. And I think that's going to stick my theory now, unless, because Peter's given me that final clue. Good for Peter. Well done, Peter, the expert, is giving me the final clue, because I did not know what the bottom of that river was. Because yes, it's sand, but are there rocks? I even said to you, I even said in my lives, I want to know if there's rocks at the bottom at that point. And Peter has said, quoted by the media, that there's nothing there except jagged rocks. Why didn't Peter search towards the sea? Don't know. But the actual experts who are invested in this case are doing that. The actual people invested in this case, who perhaps don't have a book tour to go on or anything like that, who are working all hours. I've been out there every single day into the night. They're still continuing the search. Thank you, Believe Angel, for the 449. That's very kind of you. So that, I think that's the final piece of the puzzle, is that the delay in getting 999 out there and Paul out there, tying Willow up, not listening to Willow, and then just the fact that the river goes, the bank's deep, there's rocks at the bottom, and that the current only had to take her a very small distance whilst she was still buoyant for her to be out of view of Paul and the first officers that got there. By the time the actual search and rescue people have been deployed, she could easily have got past the weir. And then wherever she's gone then, who knows? Because she's subject to tidal forces. But as I said at the beginning of this, it's questionable whether she's gone out to sea with the tidal forces because of all the sandbanks and the silt in that river. But I do believe she's in that river. I do honestly believe she's in that river. And I'm not going to change my mind on that unless significant evidence is put forward that she isn't. I do not believe she's been abducted because Willow stayed at the bench. If she'd been abducted, Willow would have been found elsewhere. If she was in the river, she must be tangled in undergrowth. Couldn't they have divers go the length of the river? Yeah, I guess they'll have to. But some of the places around there are treacherous. But it's not true that sonar is going to be able to the sonar would have found her. No, it wouldn't. Not in, because Peter said so. Peter, the expert with the very expensive equipment, said so. That there were certain places past the weir that the sonar couldn't pick up. So if his sonar just past the weir couldn't pick stuff up, and the divers would have to do that, then there's no hope in heaven, hell, or anywhere in between that sonar is going to be helpful anywhere out towards the estuary where it's all sandbanks, where the river's shallow, but just with deep channels, right? Some areas of it are totally shallow. Some are big troughs. And the landscape changes so much based on the tides. So they've got their job cut out for them. Could be covered in silt. She absolutely could be, yeah. She absolutely could be. No visibility at some points. They have to feel, absolutely. And this is why some people who end up in rivers never get found. Peter said 4 meters deep by the bench. Did he? Well, he said 3 feet. In this quote here that he gave Mail Online, he said 3 feet. So which is it? 3 feet or 4 meters? The expert told Mail Online to the scene and pointed out that the water was fairly shallow, no deeper than 3 feet, and covered with jagged rocks. So which one is it? Because there's a big difference between 3 feet and 4 meters. 4 meters is what? So 4 yards plus, so 4 times 3 is 12, what, 13 feet? So there's a big difference between 3 feet and 13 feet. So which is it? I mean, it could be that it's 3 feet at the bank and then 4 meters in the middle, which it could be. It could well be, because if you remember what I said, that when I went in to this part here, the secret beach, I think the campsite calls it, I went paddling when I was there on Monday. There, I paddled. I was only just off this shore and I was up to my shins, like mid shin, so about a foot, maybe not even a foot. I was well over my ankles because my boots got filled with water and sand. They're still filled with sand. I haven't done anything with them. They're just filled with sand. I've got one pair of boots filled with clay from when I did my creek demo, and then they've got another pair of boots filled with sand. But anyway, yeah. And I did say, check back my footage, I did say I was poking my walking pole in just to make sure that it would take my weight. And once I got towards the middle, and it's not even wide at that point. It's not wide at all. And I said, oh, like the sand, I couldn't feel the bottom. Like I stretched my pole out, I couldn't feel the bottom. And I said, oh, that's maybe 4 feet. And I didn't step into it because I didn't want the walk of shame. But it could have been less. It could have been 3 feet. But it did drop quite, like the way that the geography is, it was quite a sharp, it wasn't flat. It was quite a sharp cutting down. But it looked really flat because of the sand, because it's all sand at the bottom. So it could well be. It could well be, and that might be why St. Michael's Angling Association have said that this river is dangerous because of the undercurrents. It could well be that because there's deep channels in it, that it looks calm and it looks lovely. It's beautiful, but it's in the middle, like it's a deep channel filled with sand. It could easily be. So I don't know. There's a big difference between 3 feet and 4 meters. But if both of what Peter's saying is right, it could well be that it's 3 feet at the banking, but yet it's 4 meters in the middle. And if it's 4 meters in the middle, 13 feet in the middle, filled with sand, then that's going to be much more easy for a body to go undiscovered, and in an hour and a half to get from here to here around the bend, and then just another few hundred yards to the weir by Monday afternoon. Oh, 4 meters wide. Oh, that makes more sense. No, it's wider than 4 meters. It's wider than 13 feet. At that point there, I'm pretty sure it's wider than 13 feet. I don't know if it. I don't think it is, I think it's wider than 13 feet at that point. I might be wrong though. Maybe a 4 meter fall. Yeah, That sounds about right. 13 feet fall. That sounds about right. I've been estimating it as 10 to 12 feet. So it could be. It's over 20 feet wide. I think it is. I think it is. It's well over 20 feet. I would say maybe 13 feet there. It's a lot narrower. Like at that side, that's the upper field there. It's really narrow there and really shallow. As I said, the current picks up, and just the amount of water, the volume of water picks up once the River Brock joins it. Once the River Brock joins it, it's got the benefit of two water sources. So the current is really much stronger. That's like very, very still. I mean, obviously it's movement, but it's really peaceful. It's really peaceful around there. If I lived around there, I'd be there every day. Just that really peaceful spot, looking out over the farmland and up to the hills in the distance. But when you get around this side, because of the benefit of this increased water, then the currents, just the volume of water is stronger. What is the estuary? The estuary is the mouth of the river where the river meets the sea. She could be tangled up in reeds. A lot of people who drown, once their body is taken by the current, they get trapped, whether it's trapped in a banking, whether it's trapped in reeds, trapped in sand. It's the sand that concerns me in this river, the sand and the silt. Dawn, can you get a rubber ring fishing thing and check the depth along the length of the river to the weir? No, I can't. Do you want me to die? And I say that in seriousness. Do you want me to die? Because how am I going to get out of the river? How am I going to get in down a 10-foot sheer bank? And how am I going to get out? So, no. I'm not going to do that. No. I'll believe Peter with his fancy equipment saying it's 3 feet. Use a pokey stick. Well, I'd have to have a very long pokey stick. A very long pokey stick. Because it would have to be at least, I'd have to go right to the edge and lean over with my pokey stick and then poke my stick down and just hope that I didn't lose my balance. So 4 in the channel. What does that mean? 4 in the channel. Good old Peter. Harpoon. Yeah. Exactly. The police have asked people to stay away unless they're searching and stop coming and taking photos of where it happened. Yeah. People taking selfies is a bit silly. But I'm not going to go to risk my life to measure the bed of the river. When I think, to be honest with you, I've got all the answers I need now. To be honest, the fact that Peter, the expert, has said that there's rocks at the bottom, jagged rocks, in fact, that's the final piece of the puzzle. I think she slipped in, down the bank, knocked herself out on the rocks in an hour and a half before the alert was sounded. She's got there wearing all black. So again, more difficult to spot wearing all black in water. And then by the afternoon, she's got past the weir. So they spent the first day searching this area. There was nothing there because she'd gone past the weir. And it was only in the days following that they you know, as always with any search, the absolute right thing to do is to start at the point, you know, is create a grid pattern. So you start at the point where you last thought they were and you fan out. No one heard her scream. How could she scream if she was knocked out? Unconscious people don't scream. And drowning people don't scream either. They can't because they're fighting for air. They can't scream. And what, you know, like you know yourself, if you lose your footing. Look, right, I knocked myself out and got concussion that lasts for 3 weeks. It was simply getting up, tripping on something, falling backwards. This is in my own bedroom, falling backwards, smacking the back of my head on a desk, and I was out cold, absolutely out cold. There was no blood, there was nothing. I just had a bruise the day after, a cracking headache and concussion for 3 weeks. But there would have been no signs. If I'd have died, there would have been no signs of like blood or anything like that. So you can have a silly accident, you can trip and fall in your bedroom and totally knock yourself out where you are out cold for I don't know how long I was out, but I had a really big lump on my head the day after, a headache and concussion. So how, if that could happen in my bedroom, simply tripping on nothing and fainting and just knocking myself out, why couldn't it happen at the edge of a river that's got a 10-foot bank? I can't see how people think this is impossible when I could have killed myself knocking myself out in my own bedroom. I don't understand why people think it's really difficult. I don't get it. I don't understand why people think it's a difficult concept. Yeah, Mark, I had concussion for 3 weeks. Like I was, my headache went, but I was just different. My personality was different. I was angry all the time, and I looked it up. And what it is, when you fall backwards and you bang your head, your brain shoots forward, and the frontal lobe at the front of your brain, that's where your personality is. And if you get damage to your frontal lobe, then you can have personality changes. And I think that's what it was. That you know, I got brain damage, like temporary brain damage. I wonder if they can confirm if the call was on loudspeaker. No, I don't know. How would we know that? I don't know whether if you leave your phone on, like she was still logged in on Zoom, but like Zoom's loud anyway. It's like watching a video. It's not like having a call, you know, where when you make a phone call, you have to like choose to put the speaker on. Well, Zoom's not like that. Zoom's like this live stream. So when you watch a live stream or you participate in a live stream, you don't have to put a speaker on, do you? I mean, you have to put your mic on. But she was muted. But you know, Zoom was still connected, so we wouldn't know. There would be no way of knowing whether she was listening to it or whether she had her earbuds in. She was a mortgage advisor. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, all the pieces, all the questions I had at the beginning of this case, I've been able to answer either by going there and actually seeing it for myself and reviewing my footage back, by the police updates, and by this final piece of the puzzle, good old Peter with his new book, saying that, or was it Teams? Well, whichever it was. By Peter saying that there's jagged rocks. There you go. She's fallen on rocks. I bet you any money she knocked herself out. And that's what's kept her buoyant for a while. Just enough to get past this corner. She thinks she unmuted her call and left it going to record what happened. Well, how would she have? Because she didn't know she was going to fall in the river. So how would she have done? Where is the body? In the river. Just the question is where. But the searchers are now heading out towards the estuary. So I don't think there's been a police update today. This police update that I'm looking at is from 2 days ago, because there was a press conference yesterday, but they said that they're appealing for people to go out into Morecambe Bay, not right into the bay. Please do not walk out far off the coast in Morecambe Bay. It's very dangerous. Quicksand, sea comes in really fast. Please don't stay by the coast. If a body's going to wash up, it's going to wash up on the coast. Yeah, they've not put the search in the estuary, but they're heading out towards the estuary between Fleetwood and not End. Yeah, call finished at 9:30, and then Willow was dry at 9:33. Willow was dry because she's not going to take the leap of faith and jump 10 feet down into the river, just like Cassie chose not to jump 10 feet down into the river. She was dying to, but she didn't, because she's sensible. Yeah, the call finished at 9:30, but she was still logged in, which means whatever happened before 9:30, or else she would have logged out. You know, when a meeting's over, you log out, don't you? Would dogs pick up scent if washed up? Cadaver dogs would, yeah. If they can get close enough. But usually when bodies are washed up, you know, dog walkers find them, or people in boats, you know, fishermen and places like that. People like that find them. So I'm hoping that anybody who fishes in the River Wyre or in the estuary or in the sea, keep your eyes peeled. All hands to the deck. As many people as possible in the area between St. Michael's on Wyre and all the way into Morecambe Bay needs to keep their eyes peeled. And what concerns me about all this national attention that Peter the expert has had, it's distracted people's efforts searching the river and the banks and the coast and the beaches, because people are now being told by the media that she's not in the river. Now, as I said before, in fairness to Peter, he has not said she is not in the river. He said she is not in the river where we searched, but he only searched a very small portion of it. And part of that was in a place where she couldn't possibly be anyway, because rivers don't work in reverse. So it's the media and people who are taking Peter's word and misquoting him and saying she's not in the river, therefore she must have been abducted. Even worse, she's run off with a man, or she's run off to start a new life, because that means that they're not looking for her. Those people who believe that are not looking for her. People who believe that she's been abducted are looking on land. If meeting is on mute, isn't there still video going? No, because her camera was off, just like my camera's off. So when I mute and put my camera off, you've no idea what's going on in my house. So I could be killing everybody in my street and you wouldn't know, because my camera's off and my sound's off. So Peter has not been helpful. Yes, he's given me a clue. He's given me a clue because he said that he's found jagged rocks. That's great. So I needed that information. But in terms of the media, he's not been helpful at all. He's distracted the public from the place they should be looking, and that is the river and the coast. From St Michael's on Wyre to the estuary, into Morecambe Bay and the Irish Sea. Whether you're a fisherman, a fisherwoman, whether you're a boater, whether you're, I don't know, somebody who likes to go and walk down the riverbanks. I know that there's been some volunteer searchers who've literally walked from St Michael's to the estuary, walked the banks, but they can only see what they can see with their eyes. They can't see down the banks for 9.3 miles. So I don't know what else to say. Fifi Falange, member for 1 month. Thanks for the membership. You are very kind. Oh, you got the free membership, didn't you, earlier? Well, it wasn't free to Emily. Emily bought your membership for a month. It was free to you. Yeah, so I don't know what I'll say. I've got all my questions that I had at the beginning of this case. I've got a really good handle on what I think happened now. But obviously, I'm going to continue to follow this case very, very closely. And if new information, I'm very open-minded. I've no skin in the game at all. If evidence comes to light that means I review my theory, then I'll review my theory. How many times? Look, guys, those of you who followed the Summer Wells case and who found me during Summer Wells and have watched my Summer Wells videos, how many times have I changed my theory on Summer Wells? How many times? You know, because that's what you do when you use a scientific method to investigate anything, right? You take information, evidence, not only to support your theory, but also to try and debunk it, to try and refute it. So when new evidence comes along that refutes your theory, that's great, because it means then a revision is in order and you revise your theory and you reevaluate. That's how all investigation works, whether you're investigating Newtonian physics, whether you're exploring the latest pharmaceutical drug, or whether you're doing a criminal investigation or a missing persons inquiry. All investigations are the same. You've got to build up a theory, find evidence to support it, but also be equally mindful that you need to be looking for evidence that refutes it. So if new evidence comes to light, which points towards her being abducted, then I will review my theory. But for the time being, I can't see any other explanation, and it makes total sense for me to think that this is likely the thing that happened. She fell in the river, and it's a really, really tragic accident, and the delay in calling 999 has been a contributing factor to the fact that she's not there in the river where they thought she was going to be. Just watching Doug from AWP talking about this case. Really? Where at? On Adventures with Purpose? Or on someone's channel? Because I haven't, since the Gerard stuff. No, Jared, sorry, not Gerard. Jared. Since the Jared Lysek stuff, I've not watched AWP. I unsubscribed to him. But if he's on someone's channel chatting about it, I'll go, oh, Tyler Feller's channel. Oh, all right. I think I'm subscribed to him, but there's loads of channels I don't get notified for. And I know some of you guys say that say that you don't get notified for mine, so I have no idea. I have no idea what YouTube's playing at. Anyway, I am going to go now. I'm tired. Tyler Fenner's channel. It was really good to see Doug, and I think his new channel is Doug Bishop. Right, I'll go and check that out tonight then. Yes, it is, Max. It's broken because the trick is meant to be unsubscribe and then resubscribe straight away, and that resets your notifications and make sure you've got the bell on. And I've tried stuff like that. It might work for a bit and then it stops again. But some channels, it's weird. Some channels I get notified for, and some I don't. I don't understand. I don't get it. Sherry, member for 4 months. Thank you so much. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm tired today, and I've got to pick up on Alec Murdoch. Murdoch. When I came on here, it was they were just coming up to lunchtime, so caravan park was checked. Yeah, the farm where the little caravan place is, the summer camp is it's the command center. Dear me. It's where all the police were hanging out. All right, guys, I'm going to go. So as soon as there's any updates, I will be back. There was a bomb threat. Where? Where was there a bomb threat? A bomb threat at court? Seriously? What, did they all get evacuated? Oh, wow. Oh, right. I'm going to go and check that out. Right, guys, thank you so much for being respectful. Goodbye to all you snowflakes who have probably melted by now anyway. Thank you for the donations. Welcome to the new members. Thank you so much to the moderators. I know there's been a little bit more work to do than there usually is. But yeah, go and check out Alec Murdoch. There's been a bomb threat. All right. See you soon. Bye-bye.